So it's been a while since I've done a video like this where I just go on Twitter, talk about a few things that caught my interest, and discuss them. Here we have Truth saying, I've been mentioning this in videos for a few days now, but I expect we could begin to see info about Golden Week starting the 22nd. This video should go up the 22nd actually, so it'll probably be like later that night, which is tomorrow. Very good chance I think tomorrow night we see a producer's letter. Again, probably not tomorrow night, but the actual 22nd, the day this video goes up. Revealing the dual Dokkan Fest. Golden Week every year is not the last day of the month like usual Dokkan Fest, but a few days earlier, so I think we will see the dual Dokkan Fest live in-game probably on the 25th. Also, I seriously could just leak it any time too, I suppose. The reason this is, by the way, is because it's April 21st right now, and if we take a look at the time, it's a Monday, right? Dokkan typically doesn't release over the weekend, which is when that usually would take place, I believe. So, and then really quickly, we'll just see True say, real quick, what's your prediction for Golden Week? DaIMA, Saiyan Saga, Android Saga, DaIMA for sure. And we sort of see the, you know, what obvious. Also, what is in my trending? Oh my God, is this that's crazy? That's crazy to just be having here. But yeah, we'll probably see the DaIMA character show up sometime soon. I say DaIMA with confidence because even though I made a video talking about the potential other characters that could show up, Goma as successors is my big pick. If it's not Goma as successors, I'd be really surprised. It seems fit for him. Successors is a villain tag. I know the only current successor lead is a good guy, it's Vegeta, but that is a villain tag. They put a bunch of villains in it. They put a bunch of rinky-dink hero units in it, and then they went, yeah, this is being led by Vegeta. I don't think it's meant to be a good guy tag. I think it's meant to be a villain tag. A lot of the villains, whole thing is having generational beef, and Successors is a generational beef tag. So I guess we'll lead off with that. Next we have Platty here saying, wow, Dokkan really is kinda at one of the lower points of hype ever, huh? Mediocre Super Saiyan 3 Mini Vegeta? Yeah, it's pretty fair. Vegeta does what he does, and I think that people tend to not like those characters. You can have Pikkon right now, right? I saw Minato saying he hasn't even played with Pikkon. I saw Goresh saying he hasn't even awakened Pikkon. And these are people who like spend on the game, right? So it's like, it's one of those characters, and he's just a character who is what he is. He's not mediocre, but he is who he is. He can't be more than the text on his card. Situations don't allow for it. Situations don't create moments for it. Super Saiyan Mini Vegeta is just like this. Not only that, he's a TUR, and TURs typically need dupes. TURs are typically way more dupe dependent. Followed by Kid Goku Saiyan Day. Another reason that this is being brought up is even though this is literally a top 5 character in the game, Kid Goku had the unenviable position of trying to compete with shiny Pokemon releases for the TCG. And if you've been on Pokemon Pocket, if you've been on the internet, you know, at all, you know that Pokemon is just king. They've released a billion Pokemon games in a row that all had glitches and problems and, you know, game breaking bugs, and those shit sold better than your favorite series. So Pokemon is Pokemon. Followed by Hype Perfect Cell that sadly didn't get enough help yet. Yeah, Perfect Form Cell, because this isn't Perfect Cell. Perfect Form Cell really didn't get the help he needed. He's still a super easy A away, I think, if they decide to do that. Maybe they'll do it on the... I mean, no, there's no data downloads slotted for this, I think. They could slip one in on the Golden Week announcement, like DDL, but I feel like they probably won't. And Perfect Cell just ended up being a sort of mishmash of animations we've already seen, some great animations like his revive and his intro, but ultimately he wasn't this release that was super effortful. I'm gonna make up a word. You really don't feel the effort in Perfect Cell like you do in, you know, the Kid Goku release, for example, or the Paikuhan release. You know, Pikkon is like, this character feels like effort. The character, his animations are gorgeous. Every single one of them is really good. I guess you could say that, you know, him getting serious is not the craziest thing in the world, but like they all look good, and that's just like that's just like the credit of coming from Z, which is to say that like Z is one of the better looking anime ever, especially for its time. It was really ahead of itself when it came to animating these characters, when it came to animating these fights, choreography, and I could go on and on. But so Paikuhan just being in that realm means that any Dokkan character they make with him is going to be good. Let's just quickly see some things. I hate saying it, but this is typical minus Saiyan Day not being as hype as normal. It feels weird because Global sync, but this is perfectly normal for this time of year in Dokkan. Global is just finally experienced it for the first time. This dry period isn't anywhere as noticeable as Saiyan Day's hype. Dry period isn't anywhere as noticeable. Yeah. I think this is a big thing. It's not so much that this hasn't been like a things to, well, it's twofold. The reason this feels weird is because Festival Battles is the hardest fight in the game. What that means is that if you want to have a conversation about unit power, typically your people are starting you with how do they do in Festival Battles. Festival Battles requires very specific answers. Festival Battles requires stacking. If you are playing Festival Battles, you're playing the Festival Battles 5, which are Goku and Vegeta, Super Saiyan 3 Goku, the gods, and the 4s. And then you're putting a 6th character on there. You've heard me talk about this before. So what is left then? So if you don't want to do that, then you're left with the mishmash of very strong content, very difficult content, but the Saiyan Day content wasn't very good, the DKP, which makes them adding the DKP to the game as a free-to-play unit even funnier, because they didn't even use them for a really hard stage. The Easy A's weren't that crazy. Goku himself was crazy, but it's not like he's helping the most teams in the world. And because his link set is very odd, it's not like you bring him with a bunch of random characters. Big Goku could have been one of the hypest users of all time. They just picked the least hype possible one. This is also very true. Not that he could have been one of the most hype releases of all time, but if you're a Dragon Ball fan, you also know that Kid Goku isn't the one people want. That DKP is the one people want, but that Kid Goku is far from the most interesting version of that character. Whether you are a Dragon Ball fan or you're not a Dragon Ball fan, that's just like full stop, right? So yeah, a lot of things contributing to this weird stretch. I would say that instead of just saying like, oh, it's just not hype, I would say instead that it's just been a really, really weird time for Dokkan. Like a very, very odd stretch of celebrations that don't make much sense, because DAIMA Vegeta should have been better. Kid Goku probably should have been just a better version of him, of like the character, not the character in Dokkan, but the character in the show instead of just like episode 1, which leads me to believe they're holding on to the LR Kid Goku. Perfect Form Cell team just didn't come together. He himself is a great piece on other teams, but those teams don't really exist, and he never really got the top tier help he needed because they decided to easy A super units instead of easy A-ing a bunch of like Cell characters like they did with Broly. So again, very odd. And then his LR wasn't a super perfect Cell. It was a Paikon who is better hosting his own team and playing on other characters' teams than he is helping Cell out. So just a super weird and I would say bad slate of decisions for Dokkan here. I think the last thing I want to talk about is this tweet from Lucha Dokkan, who says, "Please be Golden Week so there is more time to save for DAIMA." And I get this from the perspective of if you're just talking like hype releases. Not for me personally. I love Saiyan Saga. This was one of the first things I saw from Dragon Ball before, like right after OG Dragon Ball was airing here in America. And so it's one of those cases where like this just has a special place for me. But if you're newer as a Dragon Ball fan, if you're someone who's a little younger and you hate Saiyan Saga and you hate OG Dragon Ball, I mean, it is what it is, bro. Like, who cares? I'm not really here to have that argument. But please be Golden Week so there's more time to save for DAIMA. Let me tell y'all something. If you want these characters to not be hype to you so that you can save, this game is about to get really boring for you. It's about to get really, really boring for you, because Golden Week does not actually matter in its character options. What's going to matter is its teams. The game is a void right now with team choices because, well, let's just be honest. Super Saiyan 2 Gohan Didn't really pan out like a lot of people wanted. Frieza, you do not want to a Frieza. You do not want to a Vegeta, and the Universal Survival Saga options aren't that great. We are more in line running characters like Glorio on 170%, like running characters under Glorio's 170%, than we are closer to running characters like the Carnival LRs. You know, let's see, actually, 1, 2, 3 Carnival LRs, like 4, wait, I guess this guy counts too, huh? Like his leader skill's also dog shit. So it's like one of those things where people are seeing this as like my hype character versus your hype character. My, you know, my certified peak versus your like failure. And I think the reason we kind of want this to be DAIMA isn't just because we know the characters will be good or just because you want to save, but like it's gonna be a really, 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 really dry in Dokkan if these characters aren't, if you like decide not to pull, which is fine. It's fine if you don't pull. It's fine if you just open Dokkan every so often. It's fine if you do this and that. But if you were thinking about that Platy post a moment ago where you were like, damn, it has been dry. Imagine the dryness when you're still essentially just running these two teams. Like, you know, the Vegito and Gogeta teams. Like, it's going to be really bad because the current selection of characters, they didn't give Cell enough. They just didn't. This doesn't look like a good block of characters. AGL Cell's fine. Tech Cell is one of the best characters on the team. And then past that, it's so difficult to get these characters on the team. Pai Kuhan has a good team, 200%. But certainly not the peak of, like, we're not seeing the peak of these characters when we run Pai Kuhan. We want to see characters at 220%, right? We don't want to see characters in random mishmatches because, again, you can run characters like Glorio and run a bunch of 200%. But, I mean, look at this list. This list is bad. So what you instead would do is run the 170%. And then, wow, the team looks a lot better, right? So it's like, now we're running the best characters in the game. We were getting the Pai Kuhan on the team. We could even get the Cell on the team. We get the Gods on the team, but that's all 170%. We want to run. We still want to be running 170% in 2025, right? We're missing 50%, like 50% stats to these characters. It just feels bad. So if you're like praying that you just get more time to save, I really wouldn't. If you've been saving your stones, if you've been budgeting your stones and not going all the way to 0, doing what I say, where I say like, hey, go into each banner, pick a number, be like, I'm only going to spend 500 this time. I'm only going to spend 300 this time. Keep your stones. You know, you saw me pull on DAIMA Vegeta. I was like, hey, it's new with DAIMA. I want to pull on DAIMA Vegeta. I didn't get him. I missed, you know. For all the times I get lucky, I do just miss sometimes. But I said I'm only spending 500 stones here, and then I'm back to saving. I'm back to saving because I'm not buying stone packs. I'm not doing any of that. I do not spend money on gacha unless that shit is your job or your job that you do have is paying you out crazy. Mine isn't. So it's like, it's one of those things where if you're like really hoping, oh my god, I hope it's not hype at all so I can save. It's like, save for what? Golden Week, Anniversary, Hanabata, Worldwide Download Celebration. Those are the 4 celebrations you have to prepare for every year. If you say, oh, what about New Year's? I don't care. Sorry. Don't really care that much. Those characters are TURs, they'll come back. Sometimes they're really good. Glorio is really good. DAIMA Goku's still pretty good. Orange Piccolo is a standout, but I mean, those are the 4 blocks of Dokkan that you need to hit. Arguably, you only actually need to spend your stones on Anniversary and Worldwide Download Celebration, because if you aren't aware, Worldwide Download Celebration is essentially the half Annie of Dokkan. If you play other gacha, you might be familiar with the half Annie term, which is to say that like a lot of gacha games have a in between where they'll drop some real peak, have a big blowout celebration for reaching the halfway their milestone. I would not hope that this celebration is boring. No way. Let's see if people agree with this. I will say it's probably DAIMA. If you don't like DAIMA, then you're probably pretty easy to skip. I love this picture of the Joshua with the Vegeta thing. I agree with you on Sunday Goku, but this is too far. And Goku. Oh yeah, he's got the Vegeta here. Yeah, so this way. In Goku, Kaioken, Biz Vegeta, Nappa. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. It would be crazy for Dokkan to have another whiff. Another whiff here is insane work, because if we're still running this in 3 weeks, like this is the only team in the game, I'm God. No, please. No. I hope to God that it's Super Saiyan 4 Goku, and I hope that he's strong as fuck. I would actually be interested in them doing the New Year's celebration thing and releasing LRs for Golden Week. I think that'd be really smart. But if they decide not to, it is what it is. With all being said, though, it's gonna do it. Like if you like the video, subscribe to the club. We all gonna make it, and peace.